All right, we're live. Let's just filibuster for a couple minutes, give people time to trickle in. I'm currently out of breath, as I was telling Josh, because I had to carry something heavy down the stairs. That's just life when you're macho men like we are. We have to deal with people asking us to carry heavy things all the time. But Josh, how are we doing?
I can't help but notice that it's smaller women who are usually asking us to do that. I don't know how strong we are, but we are stronger than our wives. Let's put it that way.
Stronger, yeah. And that's the most important part. As long as it's like you don't want a dog that's smarter than you. You know what I mean?
You go. Right. You don't want a husband weaker than you. That's a fair point.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
from their
solid
perspective.
point.
Yeah.
Solid filibustering so far, I would say. We can keep it off NFL. Did we get your favorite movie and song or like any of that stuff yet?
I thought we did. Favorite movie is Dark Knight.
Oh, right. Thank you. Okay. I want to make sure.
With the Joker.
Yep.
Favorite song is, well, depends what mood I'm in, but my favorite song is probably Semi-Charmed Life by Three Eyed Blind. Great song.
Third Eye Blind.
Also, it is Three Eyed Blind, right?
Third Eye. You're close.
Third Eye, yeah. Yeah. I was like, something sounds wrong about what I'm saying.
They haven't been around for a minute. When you said it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Wait, no, that's not right.
Yeah, something seems wrong.
Yeah.
And then
great call there.
But when I'm like today, my favorite song is Dreams and Nightmares. Now, depending on how things go at like 7 p.m., that might not be my favorite song anymore. Right. So we'll see.
Mostly just nightmares at that point.
Yeah, exactly. There are no dreams. Yeah. It's just
exactly.
It's just
they lose the dreams at that point.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
This is probably what I was thinking of, the Three-Eyed Raven.
That probably is it. Yeah, Bran. In there.
Yeah. Yep. Just finished The Sopranos yesterday. I don't know. Have you watched that?
I'm due. Yeah, I'm due for my 4th ever time going all the way through The Sopranos.
So you're a big Sopranos guy, obviously.
Yeah.
See, I was disappointed.
Was this your first time?
Yeah, it's my first time.
Holy shit! All right, new live show. Let's go. Let's get into it.
New topic. No NFL. Yeah. Once we get people in here, like I said, we'll go to NFL.
Yeah.
The 30 seconds isn't always enough time.
Right.
That's what she said. Anyways.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like a well done show. I can respect that it's a well done show. I just felt like I was kind of bored watching most of the episodes. And like it's like The Wire is a similarly slow show. And I absolutely loved The Wire. I enjoyed every second of my experience because I also have recently watched The Wire. They're like 2 huge misses in my movie catalog. Yeah, Sopranos just didn't do it for me. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, maybe try it again. We'll see. There's a little subtlety, and there are some things where they like have these mic drop moments that I'm like, that didn't really feel like a mic drop moment in the show. I can understand where you're coming from, but man, after a while, there's just like the little intricacies in the relationships between the people, and just accepting that Tony's a piece of shit, but he's also like he was the first like good bad guy in my opinion of like a big show where you're like the main character is a complete total piece of crap. But I still love him somehow.
But he's the main
How
character.
Are they making me do that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
like the Walter White.
That's part of why I love it. Yeah, a little Walter White in there. Yeah, which came after it. So,
all right,
we're with it. Let's get
it. The Wasp just got off work just for these games, so we got to give the people what they want. All right, let's go. We'll start first game: Eagles versus Commanders. I think we were talking about it before we hopped on. None of my plays, the lines have moved that much, which is good. Yeah. I think you were saying it's the same thing for you.
Yeah,
but just real quick, do you have anything on the spread money line total
for this game? Where we at now? I hadn't checked this morning. It's plus 240, so is it still under a tutty?
6 plus 240.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes. If it's still under a tutty, then I stayed away. I was gonna look at some alt like Washington plus like a little more than a touchdown. I do think this stays relatively close. I think close enough for all these props to not be like in jeopardy of blowouts, really like jeopardizing them essentially. So that's why I like prefer the Manders at this point with a big spread, but didn't touch anything on the money line or the total for that matter. Although I do expect it to be close to 50. I'm not quite there with it. So
yeah, I would lean towards the over. I also I didn't bet it. Obviously, I'm way too close to this game. I think 6 points is too many. I would go with the Commanders on the spread until I see someone stop their offense. I'm going to bet that nobody can stop their offense. And like, I get that there's a lot of trends that favor the Eagles. There's also no trend has had a rookie quarterback as good as Jaden Daniels. So like sometimes that really is just what it comes down to. And like, I get that this is really reductive, but like Jalen Daniels is just better than Jalen Hurts. And that might be all that matters. So
crazy. I've all my stuff says the same stuff here, man. So we're on the same page for sure.
Yeah. It's like if you go position by position, like quarterback might be the only position where the Commanders are better. Little
Yeah.
like every other position might be the Eagles, except for maybe like linebacker, which like who the hell cares about linebacker?
In
But
today's
like,
NFL anyway.
but the Eagles off. I don't know. I mean, none of this stuff matters. This is just me talking about the Eagles. All right. In terms of actual bets, what's the first one you got
For this game?
for
I
this
took
game?
an under. I took well, no, let me start with an over. Excuse me. I'll start with I like both tight ends essentially, but I'll start with Ertz. I took him over 3.5 receptions, and everything I'm putting out today, I put enough units to get a full unit back, unless it was a little ladder, which I have one of those as well. But for Ertz, I put the 1.4 units down to win, basically a little more than 1 unit back. I just really like the matchup against a defense that I think is going to shut down wide receivers pretty well. Is really what it comes down to. I think you're looking at him. You're getting a little bit of value too, from the standpoint that like. He had to get ramped back up, right? So we're still getting a little bit of value on the receptions for him, I believe. He's 6 of 7 that he caught in the week 11 meeting right there, right when the wide receivers got shut down, and that's what I was looking at to kind of come to this.
Yeah, this one right here. Yeah,
exactly. Yep, exactly. So that was the one I was looking at to really go, okay, he in the week 16 game, he only caught 1 of 2 targets, but he had an 80% route participation rate there. If you look at the last 10 overall as well, 4 receptions on 5.4 targets per game in the last 10. 70% of the routes that he's run in the playoffs as well. So he's still very active, obviously, in the first couple games. Caught 7 of 9 targets so far. You look at the way that the Eagles have given up some stuff to tight ends. Higbee caught 7 of 10. Kraft caught 5 for 5, just 26 yards, but caught the 5 for 5. You got the cover too high shell from Vic Fangio there, and that's really what it comes down to, is like the ability to pass in the middle of the field underneath those safeties who are playing a little bit higher. Even though that they didn't give up many yards this season to the tight end in this quick game with Jaden Daniels. I think you're going to be seeing that short stuff. It's either Terry McLaurin flying, Terry McLaurin catching a bubble, or Zach, at this point, Zach Ertz in the middle of the field. And I don't think he'll have as much ability to scramble for Jaden Daniels. He did have a better game in the win than in the first meeting in terms of the rushing. But I mean, you've got to be stacking for that. You've got to be spying for him and keeping guys home to keep Jaden Daniels honest. Excuse me. So I'm with that for Ertz in this one. I think he can get up to 5.
Yeah, the Ertz thing makes sense. Like if you believe the revenge narrative too, like he's playing in Philly, chance to go to the Super Bowl, team that they didn't end on bad terms, but they kind of were just like, yeah, we're going with
we got to leave.
We're going with Dallas Goedert over you. There's also like the weird, stupid beef that Sirianni had with him after. I don't know if you know this story, but the last time these two teams played, it's a horrible look for Sirianni. I mean, I have zero defense for Sirianni. I mean, you do that to anybody, let alone a like franchise legend. It's just complete and utter loser energy. So I'm not going to defend Sirianni there.
What do you do? Yeah.
Well, so basically the story is like after the Eagles lost to the Commanders this week here, like the last second loss, Sirianni was like literally the game that just ended was going off the field. My stupid phone. Every time I say Sirianni, it thinks I'm saying Siri. Anyways, so he was walking off the field and hadn't even gotten to Dan Quinn yet. Like that was the first place he was going. And Zach Ertz was like fired up. They just won. They just beat the Eagles. I think they had clinched the playoff game because they won. Gave Sirianni a high five, and Sirianni was mad that he felt the high five was a little bit too strong of a high five. He felt that it was disrespectful. So then he was like, why are you excited? You didn't even have anything to do with the win. Like you didn't do anything. And this is game 2. Catch.
Yeah.
Incredible loser energy. He's lame if he did that to a backup offensive lineman, let alone doing it to like, again, a franchise legend in Zach Ertz. So if there's anything about like revenge factor there, I do agree with you in terms of the Commanders offense. It's like the Houston Rockets when they first hired Daryl Morey. It's just layups and dunks and 3-pointers. Yeah. That's all they do. They're going short or they're going deep. They don't have a lot of the intermediate game. And that short stuff is going to go to Ertz, and it's going to be a high percentage catch. So I think that makes a ton of sense. I didn't. That wasn't my bet.
Real quick? I just gotta call this guy out. Can we kick him out of the stream? This dude's been like harassing me essentially. So if you guys see Tea Time anywhere, I think he's mentally unstable. He hit me up for like to get a free month in the VIP. The book that he wanted wasn't working. So then he said I gave him the runaround, and I'd really love to just figure out how to kick this dude out and not let him back in any of the streams. But yeah, kind of sucks, man. I don't know what his deal. Yeah, okay, cool. We're removed there, but yeah, sorry, I didn't have some issues with what's going on. If I'm not getting back to you in time with stuff, just hit me up. I don't know. I think he's mentally ill, to be honest. Like he just all of a sudden going off. little threatening, little weird, but as long as he's not around, I think we're in a much better place. Let's move
he's
on.
Booted. Yeah, there's some guy that comments every time I have Ahan on about how much he hates Ahan. So sometimes people just have weird beefs with people.
He's been jumping in my thing. He thinks I don't know. I don't even know what he thinks because I can't really like get in the mind of someone who doesn't have logical thinking. So I don't know. But it was the first time where I was like, is this person threatening to like hurt me because of sports betting? I'm so confused. But anyway, let's keep moving, man. But I just didn't want him in here anymore.
Sure. All right. I have a play on the Commanders as well. I took Brian Robinson. I took him on the rushing yards. I took 40 plus. I got this at plus 110 at Bet365. It might still be available because like Outlier doesn't pull all odds for Bet365. And let me zoom in a little more. Let me just make sure that you can still get the plus 110. If not, if that plus 106 is still available. Yeah. Okay. So plus 106 is currently the best price.
Cool.
I would still take it there.
They're getting there. They're pulling through this stuff up to date a lot better these days. They're getting pretty up to date.
Yeah, there's just still no 365, but 365 has minus 110, so it doesn't matter. This is just a play on like he's going to get 10 carries. He will get 10 carries. Will he get 4 yards per carry? Will he get 12 carries? Obviously, it's a different story. But like, and I get you could take the rush attempts as well. Like the attempts last I checked were at 9.5. Minus 108 isn't bad. Everybody knows I'd rather get 12 more cents of juice. That's just how things roll. How I roll. But he's had 10 attempts in all but 3 games. This was the weird halftime game where Jane Daniels was taken out at halftime. This game he just missed was a weird game where they were like down the entire game. He also got hurt in one of these weeks, and then they just annihilated the Browns. But so he's hit 10 carries in 13 of 16 games. He's gotten to 40 yards in 10 of 16 games. So there's been 3 times this year where he got 10 carries but didn't hit 40 yards. And one of those games was against the Eagles. It was this game right here. He fumbled twice in this game. Like he's not going to fumble twice or even once more often than not. So it's just a play on volume. Like the Eagles run defense is good, but they've been worse recently. Like Josh Jacobs had 80 yards against them. Kyron Williams had over 100 yards against them. Like Brian Robinson is going to split carries with Austin Eckler. Obviously Jaden Daniels is going to steal some work with his scrambling or him just keeping it. But if you're telling me he's going to get 10 to 12 carries, most likely, sometimes even more, like I'll take him for plus money to get to 40 yards. I think that's a kind of a crazy line how low it is for Brian Robinson. And like, yeah, I get he's missed it in 2, or he's only cashed in 1 of his last 3, 2 of his last 5, but it's just a play on the volume. And if you feel safer with the volume, then I'm not going to talk anybody out of that. I wasn't going to bet both because, he sprained his ankle the first play of the game. I don't want to be out two units. But yeah, it's Brian Robinson, 40 plus rushing yards, or if you want to be safer, take the 10 plus attempts at minus 108.
Yep. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like last week, I was kind of like, I don't know about any of this stuff. I'm with B-Rob. Let me get this Eckler receiving. Let me get this Eckler receiving instead. Not the same game this week for sure. So I don't know if I'll be going back to that. But B-Rob does look like a bit of a better matchup here for sure than last week. But in this situation, with the way that I think the game script flows as well, yeah, I think you're good with some B-Rob stuff. Probably still getting some value. I mean, obviously, the injury is always there. So, I mean, it's like me betting on Paul George last night. He gets like halfway to his prop in the first 5 minutes and then he's out because he's kind of
he hurt his pinky. Yeah.
He hurt his pinky.
Oh, got a little pinky injury. Yeah.
Philly sports right now, man. But at least you got the Eagles. So, yeah, go Birds.
Yeah, that's more.
I like the pick, though. Yeah, I'm with you on it.
Cool. All right. You got anything else for this game?
Yeah, I went with the other tight end, too. I went with Goddard. I took the receiving yards for Goddard. It's 40.5. I initially hit it like 36.5. I'm fine with the extra 4 yards. It's a little bit of a fade of Jalen Hurts in the way that he's looked throwing outside the numbers, to be honest, where we're not going to see obviously Goddard nearly as much. So I do think the hobbling, like just not being able to run, he's just not the same as a pocket passer. Before I go on, do you agree with that as a sentiment in general for Hurts, that he does need to be able to move at least a bit outside the pocket to be a little bit more effective?
I think he's going to run more than people think. That's my prediction. I think like Hurts loves the myth making of himself. He only talks in quotes. He's like your friend that only talks in movie quotes. He's like that guy, but he talks in like inspirational quotes. Yeah. And we'll talk about it. I think the first drive, he's either going to have a scramble. They're going to call it designed run. And if anything, to be like, hey, you're going to have to at least respect him to run and make them. So I think he'll probably run less as the game goes on. But I think he'll probably will be. Yeah, I think that he will be a little bit hobbled, but I think that they're going to call a normal game as if he's fine. And I think he's not going to be as limited mobily as people think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I was originally like, maybe I'll fade some of this, but yeah, it seemed too fishy at that point, honestly, to be fading his rushing, which seemed to be the conversation. So I went with Goddard instead as a somewhat of a partial fade from his ability to at least get out and throw to the sidelines. He's looking at really what was really wild is 134 yards passing per game in 4 home playoff games in
crazy.
his career.
Yeah,
wild
it's crazy.
Stat. Yeah, wild stat. I do think Washington's gotten better. They're in the top half of the league, limiting QB rushing. So I do think that they'll be able to at least contain him. A couple of the quarterbacks we've seen them contain Baker, which I didn't realize was a thing you had to worry about. But this year, Baker Mayfield, the runner.
You're in this year.
Yeah, this year. Kyler, Jalen in that one, and then Lamar had under 41 rushing yards as well, which is always going to be a feat worth mentioning if you keep Lamar to under 50 yards rushing and under 42. But Saquon looking at 130 rushing yards on 25 attempts. That's his line right now. I just don't think that leaves a lot for for outside, right? Like I think it's a lot of in the middle. There's just going to be slightly fewer attempts, and he's going to have the opportunities with Goddard in the middle of the field. I do think you're going to see a stacked box against Saquon. I don't know how you keep from that. Even like the Rams had to do it, but even as good as the run defense is for the Eagles, I do think you got to get in there. Goddard took advantage of that last week by just running right past those guys, staring at the running back and the quarterback for 4 for 56. His last 8 in the playoffs as well, 5 receptions per game on about 7 targets, averaging more than 53 yards per game in all of his 8 playoff games, over in 6 of 8. Washington this is very specific, but they had the 3rd worst defensive DVOA on interior passing, anything inside the hash marks and inside the numbers. And they were 28th versus tight ends this season for good reason. That's where those tight ends are running those routes. So love both tight ends in this game. I think they're gonna have to be working the middle of the field a lot.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, he's like over in both playoff games makes sense. Like he's going to get consistent work in the middle of the field. Yeah, I mean, I didn't bet it. I think that makes sense. I just went right back to Saquon. I laddered his rushing last week. I went the entire regular season and the first week of the playoffs without betting Saquon rushing because I was always too scared off of how high it was. And then I just said no more. Like until teams stop Saquon, I will bet him to run because they're going to give him a zillion carries. The Commanders, he had 146 yards against them last time. He had 150 yards against them the second time. Hurts missed basically this entire game. In the Commanders' run defense, like they've mostly kept him in check 6 out of the 8 quarters that they've played. The thing with Saquon is that doesn't matter. Like they're just going to keep running it. They're going to keep running it. And like the thing is, the Rams stack the box. So like if you look at Saquon on like a success rate wise, really not that great of a game.
Right.
But because they stack the box, he makes one guy miss and it's curtains. Like and that's kind of the risk with stacking the box is you maybe will stop him for negative yards or for 2 yards, or he breaks one tackle and then he needs to beat one safety to score. And that's literally what happened twice against the Rams. That's why he had those 2 long touchdowns. They were against stacked boxes. So you could do that. And the Commanders probably will do that. I don't necessarily know that that's going to stop him. Like if you're like, will Saquon have more negative runs in terms of success rate than positive? The answer to that's probably yes, but that doesn't change anything with his yards. And the Commanders' run defense is not good.
Yeah. 4th
most rushing yards allowed to running backs, 7th worst stuff rate, literally the worst adjusted yards before contact per attempt. They're like the Commanders are like a kind of like their defense is similar to their offense where their offense is either short or deep, no intermediate. Their defense is boom or bust. Like they're going to have a 5-yard loss or they're going to get gashed for 10 yards. Yeah. They're going to get an interception or they're going to give up a touchdown. That's how their defense has been. And I just think that the Eagles are going to be able to have success running the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs ran up and down the field against them. I mean, the Lions moved the ball up and down the field against the Commanders. They just kept turning it over. Eagles almost like have been really, really good about limiting turnovers since the beginning of the year. So the way I bet it, I put a unit on 130 plus.
Yeah.
140 plus, which let me make sure this is the best offer price. So I got 140 plus. You can currently get that at plus 150 at Bet365. So you can get a better price. And then I put a half unit on 150 plus, which is plus 210, also at Bet365. So I mean, like until teams stop it, I'm going to keep betting on Saquon and they're going to stuff the box, all that stuff. It hasn't really much mattered.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Anything?
I will say Michael Haddad, who's in the VIP here for myself as well. He's had some really, really good NFL looks this year. He told us all last week he'd be taking De'Ami Brown. He's playing the worst cornerback maybe in the NFL. That worked out. And he kind of agrees with you about the Hurts stuff too, right? Longest rush as opposed to this is talking about Hurts. I know we were on Saquon, but it's also just speaks to what you were saying about the home run sort of style that the Reds did it again.
Oof.
Dollar in the jar, dollar in the square jar.
Yep, canceled.
My bad. How am I still doing that? Commanders, the Washington Commanders, they're going to be vulnerable a little bit more probably in the long run, like you said, to both Hurts and probably Saquon as well. But Saquon needs like maybe two rushes of 70 yards to get where you need him to be, and it's all feasible. So go for it. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we got here because I've been here along the journey for you. Going, I can't bet it. I'm not betting it. I'm not going to bet it. This is crazy. How do you bet it?
Yeah,
the whole regular season. It's like, all right, you know what? I'm sorry. It was kind of like me with LaMelo Ball. It was like I can't be taking LaMelo Ball 35 points, like. But he's shooting the ball 35 times.
Exactly.
So if Saquon's going to rush it 25 times, then 2 of those could help me get there. So, yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, I saw someone who I respect take his under rush attempts. He's like, there's a lot of reasons supporting this under, and I get it. But look at the 2 playoff games, man, 25-26. Look at the 2 games against the Commanders, 29-26. It's like you're playing with fire.
There's a game plan, yeah.
Anyways, do you have anything else in this game?
I don't have another one in this game. I wanted to put some Jaden D stuff out there because he is a special rookie, but just everything in the history of this NFL is working against him. So I don't know if I'm going to go for it. Yeah.
Sure. I do have one more play, and then we'll get to some of the comments on this one before we move on to the next game.
Sure,
we already talked about it. So I did take Hurts rushing, but I actually took his first quarter rushing prop. And I guess that is on here. They have
that'd be pretty low.
Yeah, I know that Outlier has first quarter rushing. Let me go find it. First quarter rushing yards. Sorry, this is terrible viewing experience.
I know.
First quarter rush yards. Yeah. So the odds are actually better than what I got. I got this at -125. So you can get -108. That's way better. I put a half unit on this, and then I put a quarter unit on 15 up to 25. So 15 plus quarter unit, 20 plus quarter unit, 25 plus quarter unit. My logic is kind of like what Michael Hadid said, who he's in my comments a lot. I also he gives good looks. Yeah. I also appreciate when people disagree with you and give you logic why. I'm like, like 100%. I'm not perfect. Like you can disagree 100%, and sometimes he's right. But I just think that this is a lot more narrative based than not necessarily gut feel, but just I think this is going to happen more than a lot of my bets are. Normally, I try to eliminate that out of my analysis as much as possible, but I know Jalen Hurts is incredibly proud. I know that he loves the myth-making thing. I could just see the first drive of the game, him going for a big run, flexing to the crowd and basically being like, you're going to have to respect me as a runner in this game. And I'm tough. And he's just going to want to put his nuts on the table and see look how big my nuts are. That's basically my logic for this play is I have big nuts play.
Love it.
This game against the Commanders, 41 rushing yards in the first quarter. He got concussed on the second drive of this game. Yeah. He had 41 rushing yards in the first quarter. Now, he got hurt that game. That's not great. Last week, 44 rushing yards in the first quarter. He had a 40-plus yard touchdown run. It was the first drive of the game. He had a long touchdown run. I get it. He didn't get hurt. This was before he got hurt. And then he hit 15 yards in the first game against the Packers. My official prediction is that he runs more in the first quarter than he does the rest of the game. So his rush attempts might be 5 in the first quarter, not including tush pushes. I don't think he'll run 5 more times the rest of the game. I think it's going to be an early thing. Hey, you're going to have to respect my legs, and just like a Hurts loving the myth making thing. So if he comes out and he can't move, this is going to look like the worst bet in the world. But I'm willing to bet that at least on the first drive, he's going to gut through a run just to kind of show everybody that he's here. I took him over 4.5, which is crazy low, up to 25 plus and just quarter unit on that ladder.
Love it. Mike loves your huevos. Just throw them on the house, baby.
Let's see those nuts, baby. Let's see those nuts.
Good shit. Hell yeah, I love it. I mean, I knew it was me 4.5, and it was just
crazy.
All right, fall forward. I guess. I mean, 2 tush pushes could get you there.
It could get him 5 yards. Yeah, exactly.
So no qualms with that. The first quarter is very interesting, especially if you said, he's using it a little bit more at the beginning to show that it's something you have to respect, which makes total sense because if you don't start doing it until the end of the game, maybe you can hold on to it and then all of a sudden surprise them. But there's not really much time to fall back, right? This is it. It's not a regular season game here. So
yeah, exactly. And I also think that like, you know, the Commanders defensive coordinator set out and they're like, oh, if the offensive coordinator is gonna have Hurts run, like we're gonna hit him like he's a running back, and everybody in Philly got up in arms, and I'm like, well, that's what you want. Like that's like he didn't say anything bad, but I think Hurts saw that and he's gonna be like, bet, like bring it. You know what I mean? Like I think he's gonna. This is my last official bet for this game. I do want to get to the comments because we do have a lot of people giving out some looks. There's a lot, so if I missed you, I apologize. And did you look at Eckler at all? I know a lot of people like his receiving, which I would agree with that. I probably wouldn't take his under rushing personally.
It's really about how many you think he's going to get with B-Rob out there. Like what's going to be his rushing opportunity share here. And I just don't know that you can really bank on it being that high. Like if the times I took Eckler rushing when it was low, because that does feel low, but like the times that I've taken it under 30 yards, if it's 25, 20 yards in that range this season, the Eckler bets have really just been because I think he's going to be on the field anyway, a lot more. But I do think he's going to continue to be more specialist because they do need to also limit what B-Rob is doing. Like you can't just play him on every third down either. So you need Eckler out there for those. I don't know that they're going to give him entire series. Like he'll probably have 2, maybe 3 series where he's the lead back. I just don't know that the volume of rushes is going to be there or it's not going to be there or is going to be there either way. Right. So I wouldn't be going necessarily under because I do think he'll be out there for, like I said, 2 to 3 drives. That should be plenty. But I also don't feel like getting it up to, 25, 30 yards or anything like that. But I would be going over before I'd be going under. Let's put it that way, because I think he'll be out there enough anyway in situations where they will eventually run with him, maybe run some read options with JD on third down as well.
Yeah. I would agree with you that, like, to me, that's a stay away. If you're like, I have to bet one line, it would be the over as opposed to the under. But I would have more confidence in the receiving yards for him personally. Yeah. He lit them up the first time. He had 89 receiving yards. Like he's not going to get 89 again. But could he get 27? Like maybe he's finally back from the concussion. Got 41 last week. They like him. And like you said, it's the short game or the long game, and there's no in between. And like Ertz is going to be a beneficiary of the short game.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Odds Jam Rob, crazy. Like to me, crazy good value doesn't exist on something that's minus 188. And I get that like every book could have this at minus 300, but like it's going to be really hard to make money if you're constantly betting minus 188. And I don't think Scary Terry hit 50 yards either game against the Eagles this year. The Eagles have like two of the best outside cornerbacks, like their rookie on the left side, who is going to be matched up mostly with Scary Terry's Quinyon Mitchell, and Quinyon Mitchell is awesome. Like Terry McLaurin beat him deep.
He had 61 game. I think he didn't get his numbers in the first 2.
Oh, he had 60. Yeah,
he was higher than 60. It was higher than 60 though. It was like a 66.5 yard prop or something.
Okay, so he didn't hit his prop, but he hit 60 yards. That's what it was. And then he had 10 the first game. Like he's not going to have 10. I don't think he'll have 60. And so I wouldn't personally. Fair. I'm not touching that. I don't know if you have any different thoughts.
No, especially with yards in the NFL. Yards in the NFL are just one of those things where it's like he could get 4 on this play, he could get -6, and he could get 80. And I just don't want to take that with Scary Terry where it's that level of variance, like the 10 plus. I would rather just take 60 plus yards for minus 115 or whatever you get that down to. Like I'd rather just add 10 yards to a guy who can easily pick up 10 yards of yak, right? On one play that gets you there. The yards are just, it's a very wide margin of error, basically, and you will be probably hitting that margin of error. So I just don't like it as much with the yards when you want to like alt down on the yards. Doesn't make quite as much sense.
Yeah. Maybe like a parlay piece, but I would agree with that.
Right.
The Saquon Barkley thing to me feels like you're trying to galaxy brain it. And I've done that twice this year. So like, I know exactly what the thought process is. Saquon did hit it the first time these two teams played. He did not hit it the second time. To me, again, it just feels like you're trying to galaxy brain it, which again, I get it. I've done a lot of Saquon galaxy braining in my time. He did well last week. He did I bet him in this game, didn't do anything. I bet him in this game, he didn't do anything. He hit it the last time the first time, he missed it the last time, but again, no Jalen Hurts. Yeah. To me, it's just, like I said, it feels like you're trying to galaxy brain a Saquon play that's not as rushing, which I get because I understand that mindset, but
if they're gonna force feed him the ball, they're just gonna give him the run, like what Brandon's saying there, right? If I think you force feed him by putting him in position with the ball in his hands off the run, way more than the pass there. So I would agree with that. I was No, yeah, no notes there. I'm not touching that. But yeah, I was going to say some Ertz. I like that. I'm glad you brought that one up. I wanted to look at that from Marcus, and I wanted to bring up one more after too. But yeah, where are you at with Ertz on the tutty? I told him I like that in the comments.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, he is a popular red zone target. Where the hell
Yeah.
is he? Let me just control F this bitch. Yeah, I like it. I mean, you're getting crazy odds. He scored the first time these two teams played. This one right here. He scored last week. He's going to get some red zone work. Like he's getting like 30% of the red zone target share. Like that's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes complete sense, especially at the price. I don't have really any different. Like I think that's good.
Look at just the red zone attempts in general for the Eagles. I mean, that's a lot of passing attempts in the red zone in general, and he's getting a third to 3/4 of the share there in those last 4 games. Like that's pretty impressive. So yeah, I can see where you're at for plus 300 these days in the NFL. Got to take it.
Yeah, pretty good. What was the next one that you wanted?
I was looking at JD. I think Fran brought it up. I think there was a couple others that brought up Jaden Daniels tutties as well.
If you like Ertz, it makes sense to like Daniels as well.
It's 2 though, and it's like plus 110, I believe, for the 2 tutties for him. I haven't really looked at the passing touchdowns.
Plus 140 now
for him. Is it?
Oh wait, is this passing or just in general?
I think it's got to be passing.
Yeah, okay, I would agree. It's not like two. It's not 2 combined passing plus rushing touchdowns. Yeah.
No, can you do that? Can you do passing? I don't think you can do.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. I mean, it's plus 140 at FanDuel is pretty good. I get it. I mean, he threw 5 against them last time these two teams played. He only threw 1 the first time, and this was in garbage time. This was like literally the game was over. It was 28-10, or 26-10.
It's insane that he had that many touchdowns and Terry McLaurin did dick all.
Yeah. Well, no, Terry McLaurin scored once in this game.
Oh, he did have one? Okay.
Yeah, this game was weird. Like, this is a game Hurts got hurt. They were missing their Chauncey Gardner-Johnson Jr. got suspended in the first half of this game. And they scored on like a broken play where the Eagles had 12 men on the field, but forgot to cover one guy. But like, he was awesome in this game.
Yeah.
This is also a very uncharacteristically bad game from the Eagles defense. And then also like an outlier performance from him. Like he had 3 the week after, 3 a couple weeks before, but like he's normally hovering around 2 to 1. But yeah, I mean, for plus 140, it's a good look, 100%.
It seems like a pretty good look. Yeah. I've never heard ananybody call him Chauncey Gardner Jr. That is hilarious.
Yeah, CJGJ. Yeah.
Is it just sauce? Can we just call him Sauce or no?
No, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson Jr.
Oh, right. I was thinking
not yeah, you think of Sauce Gardner, yeah.
I was like, once you used to say Gardner, I'm just out, and I didn't realize there was a Chauncey. Did you have Zacchaeus pulled up? Was that the comment I just accidentally hit off?
Yeah, I'm mad at Zacchaeus. I had him last week. He did dick all. It was De'Ami Brown. His yards per route run have been really good since Noah Brown got hurt. But he's also kind of getting phased out for De'Ami Brown. So it's
I think
perfect.
Michael last week was what blessed the VIP Discord with the De'Ami Brown looks. He was like, ladder that shit up to like 90 because he's playing
smart.
He's got the wide receiver cornerback matchups down. He was very adamant about De'Ami. He's a little bit more just like, I think Zacchaeus is the best potential matchup. So there's not quite the level of conviction that he had last week that helped me ladder some De'Ami Brown stuff personally. But I am somewhat blindly tailing these angles from Michael, who's finding the cornerback wide receiver matchups really, really well. But Zacchaeus is a dangerous look either way. So proceed with caution, obviously.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's been De'Ami for like 3 straight weeks. So like you just, if you expect it to ping pong back and forth, but I don't even think he got targeted last week. He also left the game with an injury and then he came back. So that's probably, I get it. It's probably stay away from me. But cool. Away. All right. Anything else for that game? Or are you ready to move on?
No, let's roll the chefs.
All right, Bills, Chiefs. Bills versus the refs. I mean, I'm just kidding.
It's getting uncomfortable to watch Patrick Mahomes make out with referees on AI video. Can we please stop making that video?
Dude, some of these memes are funny. It's like one was like Andy Reid pre-gaming, and it was like him on his knees next to a ref. It's good stuff.
Okay, well, first bet for this game.
Yeah,
I'm fading Mahomes pass and rush.
Okay.
Under 284.5, and it really hasn't moved for like 5 days for whatever reason. So the pass and rush should be 284.5.
You can get it to 287. A little juiced, but
yeah, great. Whatever. I'll take all the help I can get. I don't know. I'm just not scared, man, of this Chiefs offense and its explosiveness, basically, is what it comes down to. Does anybody really expect this one to be Pat Mahomes just every drive getting like, is it just going to be ping ponging back and forth? It's just not the time of year for that in Kansas City. So I'm just not scared of this. I think Buffalo is going to continue to have a good time of possession. I also like James Cook, which we'll definitely be touching on in a minute. But because I like Cook, because I like the time of possession, I think Buffalo is going to have that. They're just going to have, I think that's what we saw in the regular season is going to be pretty close to what we see here. The Bills had the ball for 36 minutes in that game. Mahomes was looking at 196 passing on 5.2 yards per attempt in that matchup. Kelsey got totally shut down, expecting a lot of the bracketing to happen to him again. So don't really love that for him. The rushing's at 25.5 versus this Bills zone defense and elite linebacker tackling. So that's where I'm like, if you wanted to just take the under on the rushing, it's a little bit scary to me to just go under rushing because of the fact that if there is a deep play of any kind where they don't have two linebackers keeping an eye on Mahomes, then he is going to see a wide open field and get 20 on one rush before he just, tiptoes out of bounds essentially. Yeah. But they did allow the third fewest rush attempts overall for the Bills to the QB, seventh fewest yards to the position as well. And he did have 6 attempts, but only 19 rushing in their playoff meeting last season. Last 3 regular season versus Buffalo, 5 for 29 rushing as well on average. So I don't think the rushing is going to necessarily help him get over. So I like adding it to the under on the passing is really the point that I'm trying to make. And if you look at the last 5 playoff games for him, excluding the Super Bowl, when it comes to the passing yards, he's at 215.4 passing yards per game, other than that 333 he threw in a dome in the Super Bowl, right? And if you look at the last 2 at home in these kind of conditions with KC, where it's like 25 degrees or less, 6.7 yards per attempt on a 59% completion percentage. So his outdoor stuff in the playoffs is just, it's not like he's inefficient or terrible. It's just like he's not going downfield with the ball, and he already doesn't have the weapons to go downfield with the ball. So I just don't know why in this position we'd be giving him the same line that he's had in past playoff games in a much, much, much worse situation than he's even been in those other ones. So I've got more on it. I could be going on, like just so many stats that back up Mahomes not getting the 284.5. So love this play. I wanted to start with that one.
Yeah, I like it. It's bold, taking it under on. I mean, it's like it feels bold taking it under on Mahomes in an important game like this. But like you're right, you go back last year, 234 in a game they scored 27 points. You go back to the other playoff game against the Ravens, 256 went under. Went over against the Dolphins with 41 rushing yards, 262. Went over in the Super Bowl, as you mentioned. It makes a lot of sense from a stats perspective because Mahomes always gets overvalued because he's Patrick Mahomes. It's just it takes some stones to bet it under on Mahomes, which I get. Yeah. All right, my first play in this one, I have 2 on the receiving yards. On one side, I took, where the hell is he? I'm just going to Control F. This one is a classic Matt Modi Galaxy brain take, and the odds have moved against me. So I took Samaje Perine over 8.5 receiving yards. It's now down to 6.5. This is a play because he gets all the passing down work. It's not going to be Hunt. It's not going to be Pacheco. When they're going to throw the ball, it's going to be Perine. Yeah. And the Bills are one of the worst defenses in terms of guarding receiving running backs. Literally 32nd. They've allowed the most receiving yards per game to running backs, and that's on the second most receptions as well. So you go to receptions, it's 31st. You go to yards, it's 32nd. They've allowed the second highest target share go to the running back position as well. That's per fantasy points. If you look at like target share, second most to the running back position. Again, you can get 6.5. So I took 8.5. It went down on me. Obviously, I would take 6.5. And it feels disgusting, but he's hit it in 15 of 18 games. Even with when they've gotten Pacheco, when they've gotten Hunt back, both these guys are healthy, Pacheco and Hunt with them both. It's 5 of 6 games. Now he missed it last week. The Texans are are in the bottom in terms of receiving yards allowed to running backs. Like this would not have been a good matchup for him. The other 2 games or other 5 games, 15 or more in all 5. And the targets are scary. Like sometimes he's doing that on 1 target, 1 reception, 1 target, 1 reception. But when Mahomes throws him the ball, it's because he's open and it's like a very, very high catch rate. And if he's open, he's probably getting a lot of yak. So this could just be a super, I am known to try and galaxy brain some plays. And if he ends with 0 targets, then I'm going to feel that way. But I do think that there's a lot of math and data that supports this one. I've been targeting receiving running backs against the Bills all year. Even if you take out the 2 games against the Dolphins where Achane had 6 or 7 and 8 receptions, they're still top 5 in terms of top 5 great matchup against running back receiving props. So yeah, I went with Samaje Perine. This is one of I had 3 in this one. One of them was kind of like a half unit dart throw, but this is one of the ones that
let me stick to this one for a second, because I have a bet that totally correlates with Samaje getting over on his receiving. It's Pacheco under Russian receiving.
Okay.
Which I'm just so happy we can even add receiving to Pacheco, because everything you just said takes away everything I need to say, right? Like, he's not going to be out there to catch the ball, period, end of story. In fact, Kareem Hunt will even be out there before Pacheco is in a position to potentially catch the ball. So I took him under on both here. It's now, I had 39.5. If it dropped since the show started, oh well. But it was up at 43.5, bet down now, and I'm fine with it. But so 39.5 is on Prize Picks. You can, you can only go under on Prize Picks there. So 38.5 is fine as well. I mean, it's still just, he had 16 snaps versus Houston last week. And Houston, like you said, is a team that you don't even ever try to throw on. So that should have given him a few more opportunities, and he still didn't get them. Kareem Hunt played like the entire second half. So Hunt had 24 compared to his 16 last week. Perine had 11 snaps last week. I think you only need 11 snaps to get 7 receiving yards for Samaje Perine. I'll say that. So I think you're good there. His last 3, I mean, you could make the argument they were trying to ramp him up before the postseason, and it didn't matter, right? Like, he wasn't involved then, he's not involved now, and if he's not going to be the same dude pinballing off of dudes, right, bowling balling off of that, he's just not the same guy. So last 3, about 7 carries per game for 21 yards per game, -1 receiving yards. He's at about 32% of the snaps over his last 3. Hunt's at 45, which leaves you like 25 for Samaje. So he's basically in there with Samaje at the same amount of Samaje is, yet he's really not even getting any of the receptions. He's had 4 targets over his last 4 games. He's had 2 receptions for 14 yards. He has a 19% participation route, which is good for 50th. That's on the whole season. By the way, even when he was healthy, he was still not getting the route participation. He's 50th among running backs on the season. And he has been getting stuffed a decent amount on 15% of his runs in his last 4 games. And he's going to be facing an average of probably at least 6 defenders. He's looking at about 6.5 defenders in the box. Another really interesting stat that was found. But yeah, I think that if you look at the Bills, people talking trash on the Bills defense, they bottled up Derrick Henry. Like, they dominated Denver basically since week 12. Yeah, the last like 10 weeks or whatever. They are number 2 in rush D EPA on first and second down. Like, you're not going to really be having that much success running the ball on the early downs. So you're not going to have Pacheco having success. So you're not going to have Pacheco on third down. That's really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Like, since he's come back, missed it in 3 of 5. In the last 3, like, that's important. Like, they tried to, I think he just isn't quite right. I mean, you come back from a broken leg, he tried to come back. I think he's just not quite healthy, which makes sense, like, why that number's come down. And your play kind of correlates to the one I put a half unit dart throw on. It was Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown. Now I got this at plus 210. It is
you can search 2 up there, I think. Oh, you got the Command F, yeah.
You can
there should be a little right next to, yeah, there you go. You can
much better than Command F. There you go. Yeah. That's much better.
Yeah. Gotcha.
There you go. Even though I already had it. But yeah, so it went down to plus 175. I got plus 210. I would still hit it for a half unit. I mean, it's like, even with, so he's hit it in 3 straight games. This like directly correlates. So these were the 2 games where Pacheco returned. These are the last 3 where Pacheco went under. Like, it's a direct correlation. You know what I mean? It's like no touchdowns his first 3 games back. Oh, he's not quite right. Guess what? It's 3 straight games with a touchdown.
Yeah.
He's getting the majority of the red zone rush attempts. Like, he only got 1 last week, but like, if it's between the 10 and the 20, they're not going to go with Hunt. If it's between the 10 and the goal line, or the 5 and the goal line, that's when it's going to go to Kareem Hunt. So that's why you only see 1 red zone attempt last week, but you see 1 touchdown. He hit 2 of 3 the game before and 3 of 8 the game before that. Like, when they're at the 1 yard line and they're running the ball, it's going to go to Kareem Hunt. So like, you're telling me that for a Chiefs offense, look, yeah, this is not the Chiefs from a couple years ago, but if you're telling me that I can get the Chiefs running back who will get the ball if they're in like the 3 to goal line situation, you're telling me I could have gotten plus 210 and I can still get plus 175. Like, to me, that's worth a half unit play.
Yeah. I dig it.
Cool. All right. Do you have anything else on this one?
Yes, I did. I was also going to say, some people were asking about prior picks. I was maybe just thinking about putting them in all my picks and just like on the bottom line or something. But we can also just maybe do a quick run through at the end for those who can't.
Yeah, I should have done that. And I've gotten away from putting it in the spreadsheet. I put my Eagles plays in the comment. I accidentally sent it from both of our plays, but these are
all
mine.
good. Yeah.
Or both of our accounts. I mean, these are mine in the Eagles game. And then after this game, I'll put them in as well. Another way to view the suggested props would be to watch the YouTube videos that are put out.
There you go. Nice.
But,
love that.
Yeah.
Love that synergy. So I'm going to go to James Cook on the other side for rushing. I'm going over 56.5. I think they'll continue to be super committed to it. He's got the third best EPA among running backs this season. We don't really talk about James Cook that much. Every other game that he gets 2 TDs and 150, combined rush receiving yards, then we talk about James Cook. But other than that, we just leave him out of the conversation. 56.5 rushing yards, I'm great with. He's got 4.7 yards per carry against stacked fronts this season. And so even if we see the Chiefs, keep piling up on the rush D, he's had success doing that. The playoffs have been good for Cook as well. He's averaging 19 attempts per game in 4 playoff games now. Here with the Bills, he got to 61 on just 3.5 yards per carry last year versus the Chefs, but that was 18 attempts, man. And I think we keep going back to that. He was shut down in November, and that was in part because Josh Allen was the one doing all the winning for them in November in this matchup when they played Allen at 12 for 55 in the game winner, as well as you remember. But they dominated time of possession, like I said, and I do love that for them. And on the left side especially, they really did gash up the Ravens, especially going to the left. That's really where we saw things for them be successful. He had 79 rushing yards on what we'll call one of the best rush defenses in the league. And since week 10, he's had the number 1 rush EPA and the number 1 success rate percentage on the early downs and really just in general as well. He's 3rd overall, but on the early downs, he's 1st in success rate right now. All the stuff as well. EPA also really good, number 3 on early downs. And KC has been vulnerable a little bit more on early downs too, which is what I'm looking at here. Obviously with the running back, that's pretty helpful to have that stuff. So I think they've allowed 100+ rushing yards to running backs in 5 of their last 6 games for the Chefs. So I think we're still overvaluing this rush defense for a guy that should be getting anywhere from 17 to 20 carries tonight or today.
I like it a lot. I mean, you look at just these last 2 games. You heading into the playoffs, 2 of the best run defense, 2 of the top 5 are probably the Broncos and the Ravens. And the Bills are we don't care. We're going to run all over them. And they ran for 120 against the Broncos. And I mean, 67 doesn't sound amazing, but literally opponent ranked number 1. And I'm not a huge math guy, but 67 yards is more than 55.5 last time I checked. So
well said.
If that is still correct, then 67 yards is perfectly fine. The attempts, as you mentioned, 23 and 17. The Bills aren't going to win this game 31-7. So he's probably not going to get 23 rush attempts. But could they win 27-25? He gets 17 rush attempts? Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great look. I know a lot of people were asking about touchdown for James Cook as well. Plus 130 for that is pretty good. You just worry about, is Josh Allen going to steal all the touchdowns?
Yep. Totally understood there. I think the touchdowns are okay. What was the number for him at this
plus
point?
130.
Plus 130. There it is. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I don't love touchdown props when we get to this point of the season for whatever reason. I don't know why. They just start to get a little bit fewer and far between. But I mean, plus 140 for the guy. You worry about Mahomes. Allen's vulturing, but it's still a pretty good look. He can score from anywhere at this point, inside the red zone, especially. So
yeah, I mean, you look at the 2 playoff games. 1 touchdown for James Cook, 0 touchdowns for Josh Allen. You look at last week against the Ravens. 2 touchdowns for Josh Allen, 0 touchdowns for James Cook. So if you think Josh Allen's going to run him in, then obviously that limits James Cook. But for plus 130, I do think that's pretty good value.
Right. Which is that better than Allen's value? Do you know?
Allen, I think, is plus 100, if I remember correctly. Let's find out. Now that I can search, it's way easier to do this.
There you go.
Okay, no, so it went to minus 115.
Yeah, so that's the other reason for Cook, right? If you got 2 guys they've got pretty much the same chance to score. If they were both plus 120, plus 130, and you just wanted to see what happens, I'd be fine with that because if one of them scores, you're still making money. Both of them score, you're in the nice green there. But I think I'm good with Cook basically at the plus money.
Yeah, and Josh had 2 against him last year. He had that huge one, as you mentioned, this year. So if you want to go Josh, I don't blame you, but I'd rather play plus 130 than plus 130 than minus 115.
Yeah.
All right. The last play that I have in this game is on the Bills side. And I'm curious your thoughts. I went Dalton Kincaid. I went over 31.5 receiving yards. This line hasn't moved at all. So if you're a conspiracy theorist and you're the books are comfortable with their position at him at 31.5. I get that. You could even get 29.5 if you use Prize Picks. To me, this is just a matchup play against the Chiefs, who we all know worst defense in the NFL guarding tight ends, literally 32nd. And I even like this play better because the Chiefs, they missed. So one of their cornerbacks, I forget his first name, his last name's Watson, got hurt in the middle of the year. And the Chiefs started giving up more to the wide receiver position after he got hurt. And like you look at like the first half of the year, the Chiefs, every week it was like a tight end would go off against the Chiefs. And then it was kind of hit or miss from there. With the fully healthy Chiefs defense, that makes me like tight end receiving props even more, because that's when they're the leakiest to tight ends, when they're so much more buttoned up on the outside.
Yeah.
And Kincaid feels like he's had a gross year. Like those of you that had him in fantasy weren't happy with him. But if we're talking 31.5 yards, he's hit that in 9 of 15 games. It's been a little bit hit or miss recently, but he also got hurt and missed a couple games. Like he got hurt in this game, and then he missed a month. Has been hit or miss since he came back.
And when he came back, Dawson Knox was also out snapping him when he came back.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I guess you can't do snap share, unfortunately, on Outlier, but yeah. But yeah, this is just a matchup play against the Chiefs. Like he didn't play the first time these two teams played this year. Dawson Knox did. Dawson Knox hit his receiving prop in that game. So Jalen Watson, Justin Watson. Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah. It's Jalen. All good.
It's Jalen, yeah. All right, yeah, Jalen Watson. So yeah, Kincaid receiving yards. It's just a matchup play against the Chiefs. I really don't have that much to it. In like 9 of 15, even though he feels like he's had a bad year because he was like supposed to be like a sleeper in fantasy. 9 of 15 is perfectly fine in my book, especially in a good matchup.
He fucked my fantasy. He's just screwed my fantasy season. So unnecessary, Dalton. Just couldn't stay healthy. I took him both of the last 2 weeks and decided to stay away this week. But it's the yards. You go for the yards. He's not getting the total participation, but he's got one of the higher ADOTs on the team and for tight ends on the season for sure. So you go yards. You're still seeing that you get an EV for him on the receptions if you want it. I love the yards. I initially thought you went yard. That's which way I would go.
I put up the receptions just to show, just to prove your point, because you were saying yes on the yards, not sure on the receptions. That's all.
Got you. Okay, cool. I was busy looking up Jalen Watson because I was like, it's not Justin. I can't get Justin Watson out of my head. They have so many Jay Watsons. But yeah, the Dalton stuff, man, he's still he's fooling me. He's he's Vernon Davis, who got good at football, but Vernon Davis was the definition of look like Tarzan, play like Jane. And Dalton before Mike Singletary went off on him and said, can't do it, can't win with him, and had one of the best post-game speeches.
Yeah, that was,
Get him out of here, get him out of my face, basically get him off, can't do it. So that's how I look at Kincaid at this point. He's just too soft when he goes down. Every time he lands on the ground, I'm like, shit, is he going to get hurt again? But I think the participation should still be there for him. So it's not a bad play by any means. And low 30s, because he didn't get, he only had 11 in the last game, does tell you okay, we're ping-ponging back and forth. I'll take the value after a bad game. So I completely agree that it's a good look in this one. And I took a tight end on the other side.
Okay.
I took the tight end that is not hooking up with a super pop star.
Not that you know of.
Not that I know of anyway. Noah Gray could be doing it. He could be doing it behind the scenes that we don't know. I'm sure Taylor's got some friends, that kind of thing. But Noah Gray, over 1.5 receptions. I put 1.4 units on minus 140. And I took a sprinkle up. Well, I say a sprinkle, but it's 0.7 units on 3+, which is plus 188 on FanDuel for the 3+. So a little bit of a ladder for Gray. This is all based on how the Bills are going to play Travis Kelce. Once again, they bracket the crap out of him. They shade, even when they don't have 2 linebackers within 10 yards of him, they have the whole zone shifted to the side of the field that Travis Kelce is lined up on, and they're just going to stand there next to him. So Gray benefited on 5 targets in the last game, caught 4 of them, 23 yards. He did have the 2 tutties as well, with a 51.5% route rate in that one. And that was the start of a really nice 5-game heater for him, as you're looking at it right there, right? He only caught 2 in another one, but he had 2 in 6 straight games there, which is the little heater I'm talking about. 3.6 catches per game for about 39 yards. 6 tutties in there, man, crazy. If you still wanted to go to the Noah Gray tutty, and now Kelce coming off that huge playoff game, right? This is going to be a situation where he's going to have all the focus on him. Gray played 29 snaps in that last game, 57% of them. 10 fewer than Kelsey, but still drew 3 targets on 15 routes in that game. So he only ran 15 and still drew a target on every 5th route that he ran. 75% catch rate in the playoffs with Mahomes. He has a 98% true catch rate with Mahomes, which I didn't realize was really, if it's not a catchable ball, then they don't
takes away throwaways. Yeah, just basically throwaways and stuff. So Mahomes has a 121 QBR on his targets, by the way, for Noah Gray on the season, and that includes such a small, like 2.4 yards per catch, by the way. So not touching the yards for Noah Gray, but I think he'll be catching some, like, at least 3 balls in this game. I like it, and you can get 3+ actually for a better price at Bet365. So if you can use 365, check them out. Shout out my mom who's in here. Go Birds.
Jedi Mom.
We love it. The Noah Gray one is awesome. I probably will tail you on the 3+ one. I'm not allowed to take
minus. I know you're not going to take the -140. I would never presume to offer you the -140, bro.
You know how, like, when you log into a sports book, they're like, "Oh, can you want to set like betting limits?" I say yes, but like odds limits, like
minimum odds. Yeah.
Don't let me press send on anything that's -130 or worse.
Yes. Love that for you.
This is going back to the Eagles game.
Yeah.
I don't hate an AJ Brown under. It's just do you really think that he's going to have a 3rd playoff game in a row where he's not doing anything? He historically kills the Commanders. He's had awesome success against the Commanders. He's historically killed Marshawn Lattimore, who they had shadow him in the Week 16 game. I would not bet his under. I actually think his over is the more likely scenario. But if you, like we the fifth, think that the Eagles are going to go up early and just run the clock out, then I think that makes sense. Like, if that is the game script, then he probably will go under. I don't think that's going to be the game script. I think regardless of what happens, it'll be close. And I think that it's really, really tough to ask AJ Brown to have another quiet game after like 1 reception, 2 receptions. He got targeted 7 times last week. So they tried to get in the ball. He had 2 drops, which make that game look completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, who am I to fade Weed to 5th? That's just not necessarily where I would go.
It's my boy. No notes on that. This is interesting to me though. Have you read that Josh Allen needs 1 rushing TD to tie Steve Young for the most QB rushing TDs in postseason history? Do we think Josh Allen knows that?
It's a good question. I don't know. Maybe Steinfeld told him.
What's the 2 tutties?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up.
Yeah.
Do they even have that on here?
They should have.
Plus 500.
Alt stuff.
Yeah.
When you look
plus 500.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not bad.
Plus 500, pretty good.
He only needs 1 to tie. I guess 2 would be taking the lead. I think he's going to have a few more playoff games in his career. So I'm not sure if how forced he is, but I love when people can bring up motivating factors that are flying under the radar for the public. Like I do put stock in, like, hey, this guy's playing in his hometown and he's got 12 people coming from his family to watch the game. Like, I put some stuff on that, and Josh Allen caring about this stuff, I do think is realistic.
Yeah, I do. I sometimes care about that. Like, I don't think Josh Allen gives 2 craps about his touchdown record when he's playing the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I think if you ask Josh Allen, he would rather like sprain his ankle, not play in this game, and just have the Chiefs lose than fill up the stat sheet. If this was a regular season game, then yeah, that's totally fine. I just remember, like, there was a stretch in the Chiefs where if like both Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce were on were like both on some sort of what word am I looking for? They're like some memento on touchdown passes for Mahomes and catches. Milestone.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I kept wanting to say. Accolade. I knew that wasn't right. Milestone. Thank you.
Yeah.
And everybody in their world bet Travis Kelce first touchdown, and it was Noah Gray. So I just think that, like, it's comfort. I think a lot of times when these hit, it's confirmation bias, and when they miss, nobody remembers.
Facts. Yeah, it's all conjecture. It's all speculation.
Yeah.
There's some moments in time where I'll use that more strongly than others. Like in the NBA again, I think Nikola Jokic does care about waxing Rudy Gobert every time they play each other. He's down to score 40 points against the Timberwolves every time. I believe in that. I believe he hates that, man. So there's some stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, it's conjecture. Like even this, I do believe in too. I mean, look, I don't think Josh Allen's thinking $2.5 million, but I think it's there going like, we got to get to the Super Bowl. And $2.5 million is the cherry on top of my legacy going to the Super Bowl. Right. But I just don't want people sneezing at $2.5 million because these guys make like $50 million a year or $40 million a year. $2.5 million. Imagine if you make $100,000 in a year and someone's saying $2,500 or whatever. It's like that money matters to you. So yeah.
I mean, yes, but like, do you think that Josh Allen didn't care that if they were going to win unless he was making $2.5 million? You know what I mean? Like,
right,
I don't necessarily think
it's
that this
changes.
Yeah. And like, because like the Chiefs probably have some incentive. Like I'm guessing the Chiefs have some incentive to go. So I don't know. I generally, to me, I think that these can be helpful. They aren't always helpful. I mean, the Mike Evans thing.
Right.
You remember that in the regular season? Like Mike Evans needed 89 yards. The book's price is over under at like 90.5. He landed on exactly 89, and he still hit his incentive. He didn't hit the thing that everybody bet. So
Right. Another good point. Yeah. The two TDs is a little different. But yeah, the Mike Evans one was actually one you could buy into at least a bit because the team was also telling you publicly
they really wanted him
rallying around Mike Evans. Yeah. They were like, we really want this for Mike Evans, and he cares about it and we care about it, so we can bank on it. Yeah,
exactly. So anyways, anything else for
I didn't have anything else. I didn't even really have any leans. I was leaning on De'Ami Brown a little bit in the NFC game there, but I stayed away because I didn't see much else there. So I didn't really go any other places with much. I really didn't even have like too many additional leans on top of like 7 plays that I've got. So
I didn't like AJ Brown. I thought going with, but I'm like, I'm not going to bet both AJ Brown and Saquon. And like, who do I have more confidence in? It's Saquon Barkley. In this game, it was just like if playoff Kelsey, everybody and their mom is like, look at like Travis Kelsey stats in the playoffs, and he blew up last week. So I think that's going to be one of those ones where when he doesn't hit, you're like, well, the data was telling you that it wasn't there. When he does hit, you're like, why wouldn't you bet playoff Kelsey? So that's another one that I know a lot like. I mean, this makes like, I think the logic for this makes sense. It's just like he hasn't. Amari Cooper hasn't done anything in months.
Yeah, it's tough. You really got to pull it out of nowhere for sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's all for me. Let's just do a quick recap of our bets in both these games.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I'll just run through them real quick then for myself. I took Pat Mahomes under 284.5 pass and rush receiving. Got that -115. James Cook, I took over 56.5 rushing yards on that one. I threw Zach Ertz out there over 3.5 receptions. I put that up for 1.4 units to win a little bit more than a unit back for Ertz. Or you could do obviously a little bit of a ladder play if you think he's going to get 5. Dallas Goedert on the other side there against Ertz, got the Philly tight end over 40.5 receiving yards, -110. So 40.5 receiving yards over for Goddard. I took under 39.5 Russian receiving yards for Isaiah Pacheco. Also drank the juice with putting enough units down to win a full unit back on all of these bets, just so you guys know. And then Noah Gray over 1.5 receptions with a ladder to 3+ as well. So let's freaking go. Let's get 7. Let's freaking go, man.
I like it. I put mine in the chat, but just to read them out here as well. I went Brian Robinson 40+ rushing yards, Saquon Barkley 140+ and 150+ with a half unit on the 150. Hurts over 4.5 first quarter rushing yards, laddered up to 20+ with quarter unit on all the ladder plays. Kincaid over 31.5 receiving yards, Samaje Perine over 8.5 receiving yards, and Kareem Hunt anytime TD. Cool. All right. Well, you're not betting NBA today?
I don't know, man. If you want to bet on OKC Portland, you may need to attend a meeting of anonymous meeting of some kind at some point in the near future. What do you want me to say? Like SGA 55 points. He shouldn't have enough time on the floor to score 30. But I will say also the one thing to keep in mind that for SGA this season, and I forget who, I think it was either it was Mike or somebody. I think it might have been Ghosty Mike who's in here saying, yo, if SGA could become the second player ever to score 30 points against every single team in the NBA in one season. And last season, he didn't do it because only Toronto, he got hurt against them in one of the 2 games they played. So he couldn't get 30. And so he had 29 teams last year. I think he's trying to get 30 against every team. So just keep that in mind. If you want to take him for 30+, if it's like his second game against a team he's not going to play again, then maybe the 30+, but don't come at me with angles for today's game. There's a reason that it's Thunder Portland on Sunday with 2 conference championships games in the NFL.
They know what they're doing. This is like the Thursday night equivalent of the NBA when they just put some Jamoke game on. Yeah. All right. Well, last game until the Super Bowl. if you're on Josh's channel, say it again.
Should we get a Super Bowl show in too?
Yeah, probably, unless I'm there. If the Eagles are in it. If someone wants to fund me and my mom to go to the Super Bowl, which we'll did the year they won, like 6 years ago, we went.
Yeah. It'd be pretty lit if we did a gambling show with you outside the freaking stadium. Dude.
Yeah, in New Orleans.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Cool. All right. Well, we're streaming on both our channels, so if you follow us on one but not the other, just follow the other person. It's been a fun season. Let's hope that we can. Let's hope that we can get a Super Bowl thing going. Let's hope that we make a lot of money today. These playoffs haven't gone great for me, so I would love to have a great day today. Yeah. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.